In this video, we are going to discuss about the various blood types and the blood transfusion reaction. So first of all, let us discuss about the various blood types. There are mainly 4 blood types: A, B, AB, and O blood types. These are the major blood types. Also, there is the Rh positive and Rh negative blood types, and other various blood types that are present in the human population. But major blood types in our body are A, B, ABO, and Rh positive and Rh negative. So first of all, let us discuss about the blood group A. So red blood cell type A has antibodies in the plasma. Anti-B antibody is present in the plasma, and the antigen in the red blood cell in the type A blood group is the A antigen. So the blood types compatible in the emergency of the people with the blood group A is A and O. So now red blood cell type B has the anti-A antibodies in the plasma and the B antigens in the red blood cell. So the blood types compatible in an emergency with the B blood groups are B and O blood group. The AB red blood cell types has no antibodies in the plasma. So the antigen in the red blood cells in the AB red blood cell type has A and B antigen. So the blood type compatible in an emergency in the AB blood group is A, B, AB, O. So AB blood group is the universal recipient. However, the O blood group has both anti-A and anti-B antibodies in the plasma, but they have no antigen in the red blood cell. The blood types compatible in an emergency is O. So O is the universal donor. So let us discuss about different blood transfusion reactions. So after knowing various blood groups and their brief concept, I want to go towards the blood transfusion reaction. There are mainly 5 types of blood transfusion reaction. First is allergic or anaphylactic reaction. Second is acute hemolytic transfusion reaction. Third is febrile non-hemolytic transfusion reaction. Fourth is transfusion related acute lung injury, and last one is delayed hemolytic transfusion reaction. Now first let's start from the allergic or anaphylactic reaction. So you have to know that the donor plasma protein, including the IgA that is present in the donor when there is blood transfusion, and whenever there is the blood transfusion in the host cell, there is the IgE, which is the anti-IgA situated in the host mast cell. So whenever there is the acceptance of the blood from the donor, then due to the presence of the IgE, that is anti-IgA, there is degranulation of the mast cell. So due to this degranulation of the mast cell, various symptoms occurs. Now I am going to teach you the pathogenesis, timing, and clinical presentation of the allergic or anaphylactic reaction. The pathogenesis is mainly the allergic or anaphylactic reaction is the type 1 hypersensitivity reaction against the plasma proteins in the transfused blood. So IgA deficient individuals should receive the blood products without the IgA. So the timing is within the minute to 2 to 3 hours due to the release of the preformed inflammatory mediators in the degranulating mast cells. So the clinical presentation in the allergic or anaphylactic reaction is so there could be the various allergy like urticaria or pruritus. Anaphylaxis can occur. In the anaphylaxis, we can see the wheezing, hypotension, respiratory arrest, or we can also see the anaphylactic shock. Now let's discuss about the acute hemolytic transfusion reaction. In the acute hemolytic transfusion reaction, you can see the donor RBC with A and or B group of antigen in the surface of the RBC, whereas in the host there is the anti-IgA and anti-B IgG. So also there is the immunoglobulin M in the host body or plasma. So what happens in the acute hemolytic transfusion reaction is that it becomes the type 2 hypersensitivity reaction. So typically causes the intravascular hemolysis. So it is also known as the ABO blood group incompatibility. So during the transfusion or within 24 hours of the blood transfusion, the acute hemolytic transfusion occur reaction occurs in our body due to preformed antibodies. So the clinical presentation in the acute hemolytic transfusion reaction is fever, hypotension, tachypnea, tachycardia, flank pain, hemoglobinuria, which is intravascular hemoglobinuria, jaundice, which is extravascular jaundice. Now let us talk about the febrile non-hemolytic transfusion reaction. So in the febrile non-hemolytic transfusion reaction, you can see the donor WBC releases the preformed cytokines. So donor which has WBC, it releases the preformed cytokines, which causes the various clinical manifestation. What happens is that the cytokines secreted by the donor WBC accumulates during the storage of the blood product. So the reaction is prevented by the leukoreduction of the blood products. So the febrile non-hemolytic transfusion reaction occurs within the 1 to 6 hours due to preformed cytokines. So the main clinical features in the febrile non-hemolytic transfusion reactions are headache, fever, chills, flushing, and the febrile non-hemolytic transfusion reaction is more common in the children. Now let us discuss about the transfusion related acute lung injury. So in the transfusion related acute lung injury, it has the donor anti-leukocyte immunoglobulin G and interaction of the host neutrophil, which ultimately damage the lung and causes the acute lung injury. What happens is that there is two hit mechanism in the transfusion related acute lung injury. So the neutrophils, you can see the neutrophils are sequestered and prime in the pulmonary vasculature due to the recipient risk factor, and the neutrophils are activated by a product, for example anti-leukocyte antibody, in the transfused blood and release the inflammatory mediators. So this increase the capillary permeability, which will ultimately leads to pulmonary edema. So the timing of the transfusion related lung injury is within minutes to 6 hours. And the main clinical presentation in the transfusion related acute lung injury is respiratory distress and non-cardiogenic pulmonary edema. Now let us talk about the delayed hemolytic transfusion reaction. In the delayed hemolytic transfusion reaction, there is mainly role of the donor RBC with the foreign antigen and the host immunoglobulin G. Here what happened? The anamnestic response to the foreign antigen on the donor RBC, most commonly rhesus or other minor blood group antigen are present, so previously encountered by the recipient. So this typically causes the extravascular hemolysis. So the timing of the delayed hemolytic transfusion reaction is over 24 hours, and it usually presents within 1 to 2 weeks due to slow destruction of the reticuloendothelial system. And the clinical presentation is that there could be the mild fever or hyperbilirubinemia. Generally it is self-limited and it is clinically silent, so most of the delayed hemolytic transfusion reaction go unnoticeable. So we discuss in this video, we discuss about the various blood groups, and we also discuss about the blood transfusion reaction. We discuss in the blood groups that mainly there are 4 types of blood groups. They are A, B, AB and O types of blood groups, whereas AB is the universal donor, whereas the O is the universal acceptor. However, in the modern medicine, the concept of the universal acceptor and universal donor is changing, because there are several factors that interference in the blood transfusion. So there could be the various transfusion reactions that are allergic or anaphylactic, acute hemolytic transfusion reaction, febrile non-hemolytic transfusion reaction, transfusion related acute lung injury, and delayed hemolytic transfusion reaction. These are the main blood transfusion reactions that can occur in our body after the blood transfusion. So I hope you understood this lecture video on the blood transfusion reaction and the blood groups. Thank you.